What's your word?
So it's about weather.
Okay, we're now on to paper 11, or item 11. This is the paper on the health and safety strategy and well-being strategy updates, and will be provided by Chris Allison and co.
Thank you very much, Chair. The paper as presented asks committee to note the progress updates in relation to the health and safety strategy and the wellbeing strategy. Committee will recall that the health and safety strategy, which runs from 2022 to 2025, was approved by Council on the 6th of October 2022, and the wellbeing strategy, also running for the same period, was agreed on the 1st of December 2022. Appendix 1 and 2 provide detail in relation to ongoing progress, and further reports will come up to Audit and Scrutiny for future meetings. The Council's Workforce Development and Learning Team Leader and the Health and Safety Manager and I are happy to take any questions members may have.
Thank you, Chris. Do members have any questions? Right. Also, what Councillor Reynolds was about to indicate there, but perhaps not. No. Yes, page 212. 212 of the report, second item. 2.2, making sure internal policies, procedures, etc., etc. In the commentary, it says mandatory training uptake, only 25% is mandatory training. So, whose fault is that? Is it people not coming forward for the training, or is the training not being provided?
I can come in this one. So, training has been provided. These are e-learning courses for the most part. Although what we have done is recognise that there's a number of colleagues who maybe don't have access to the electronic systems. So for them there is a video briefing which gives exactly the same content but in a different format to allow them to access. I think there has been some difficulty in getting that message across to some of the managers in those areas to understand that that is available to them, but we have had some more recent success with that. And I think that word will now spread more quickly amongst that group to increase the uptake.
Well, yeah, I would hope so, because I mean, 25% is pretty poor generally against the background. So, what actual steps are you taking to get these folk to come forward? Because are there any sanctions involved if they don't do the training? If it's mandatory, there must be some kind of sanction.
We are regularly reporting to the ESLG and the SLG and for the directors to senior managers to be taking forward the mandatory training. It wouldn't be called mandatory training if there wasn't a requirement to do it, so we do expect all staff to be undertaking it. So it's compliance, and we're tackling that compliance issue, and we're engaging with the services on that. We do alternative delivery tools, as Sean mentioned, with those hard to reach of those staff who don't have IT equipment. We are changing our approach to how we roll out mandatory and corporate training. So there are about 13 or 14 different modules which can be quite onerous for staff and for education staff as well who do it in service days. So the reporting period is also split, so education staff do it at a different time, so those figures aren't captured in possibly what we recorded here. So the uptake will probably be greater throughout the year, but we're working on how we promote and ensure that an uptake to that 100% mark. And obviously, throughout the year, there may be staff who are on long-term sick, maternity leave, so we have to factor that in as well. But we are actively working on that.
Thanks. That one followed by 213, and now 3.3. 24 actions recorded in the commentary column again. 24 actions recorded, 11 completed, 2 in progress, and 11 not started. Presumably, the 11 that haven't been started have been deprioritised. They're the least impact and least problematic.
Yes, and I can actually give you an update. There's only one of those. There is actually now only one of those actions outstanding. It is in progress.
Good, thank you. Final one,
I think. 216. Yeah, mental health is a real problem. I acknowledge that totally. I do get a bit concerned with self-assessment overdrive happening. You know, if an awful lot's made of asking employees to inquire into their own mental health, kind of is suggesting that they should look and see if there's a problem there. I just wonder if there's a risk. Do you think there's a risk of overheating the analysis a little, self-assessment getting slightly out of hand?
I'll take that one, Councillor. When it comes to mental health, I think you're right to emphasise its importance. It has a wide range of impact on staff in terms of their own personal well-being, but also when it comes to the delivery of services as well. We want staff to be happy in the work that they do so that they're able to perform in the best way that they can do. In terms of are we overemphasising a self-assessment approach there, I don't think we are. In this regard, we have our staff survey indicators, which are really crucial to ongoing mental to establishing the ongoing mental well-being of our staff members. But it's also important to get that feedback so that we can take appropriate action on it going forward. So there is, within this update, it does note that the Healthy Working Lives group has been reconstituted and is now operating again. That group will be well informed by the results that are coming from these type of assessments and from results from the likes of the staff survey as well. Because with that information, it allows that group to function in a meaningful way so that you're not just identifying supports in terms of quantity rather than quality. We know there's an issue, therefore we will roll out 10 more supports for staff. We want to be able to look at what the issues are so that we can roll out stuff that's based on quality. Is this actually reaching the issues that we are getting from these type of assessments, and will it make an impact going forward? So I think it's important that we undertake this level of analysis for, again, such an important issue within the organisation, and certainly that's reflected in the staff survey results that we've had a look at previously in this session.
Thank you, Alistair. Yeah, I mean, my concern was that if too many people come forward on a self-assessment basis, they will mask the smoke out the genuine cases at the core of the problem and distract reparations and mitigations away to people who don't really need it, but who are jumping on a bandwagon just because it's the thing to do. And definitely people who really got the problem who suffer as a result.
I will commend that there are additional supports in there that will help employees. It's not just about KPIs or indicators. We have processes in place where, particularly when it comes to staff and manager interaction, where you will identify genuine concerns with otherwise, as you're indicating. So processes such as the constructive conversations process, which is essentially a one-to-one process between staff and managers, will again seek to identify where there are genuine concerns, and where those processes are being implemented, you can identify those concerns and you can act on it based on the range of supports that we have available throughout the council, such as PAM Assist and occupational health. So I'm not overly concerned that we are masking genuine concerns, because there are other processes there that may be more a relational base, which will help us identify those. Sean, do you want to come in?
Yeah, it was just to say that it's not all about self-evaluation, and there is a number of measures that we can get, for example, from our PAM Assist colleagues. They do quite a detailed analysis of every intervention that's had with them. So, you know, we get a detailed breakdown of why someone has been contacting, what pages of the website they've been looking at, you know, if there is any more in-depth support offered, you know, we get detail about, you know, the reasons for that. If there are any, what they call red flag cases where, you know, that's where somebody's potentially suicidal, for example, that all gets notified to us. So, you know, it's not just about people saying that they've got an issue, we get that kind of quality feedback as well.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Rennie, you got your hand up?
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. Just on page 217, on improving wellbeing communication and enhancing wellbeing engagement, it says there's no or minimal progress against that, which sort of contradicts what's been said in terms of the communication plan in place, and you know, noting as well that the staff survey still showed issues with wellbeing. I just wondered, you know, is there a real work plan in place to take this forward with somebody with responsibility for it? And also, is there engagement with external bodies like the third sector in terms of coming in and doing wellbeing sessions with staff? I know a lot can be done internally and, you know, groups can fall by the wayside, but it can often be useful to engage externally as well. Maybe staff sometimes feel a wee bit more comfortable with that. So I just wondered if there was any possibility or thoughts of doing that moving forward.
Yeah, there has been quite a lot of work ongoing in this area, and we have engaged with a number of third sector groups. For example, we had Sam H came in and did a programme of training for all our managers on mental health and, you know, signs to look out for and how to support people with managing their mental health in the workplace. I think what's said here is that the indicator of success will be that there is a plan for communication of that in place, and we're not yet reached that stage, but in some ways we needed to do some of the work first before we then could develop the communication plan, and that there is a plan in place to make sure that that happens in the not too distant future.
Okay, thank you.
I would maybe add, in terms of the wellbeing strategy, there is an action plan associated with that. The communication plan will be developed out of that and roll out from that.
Right. Thank you all. Any further questions from members? No? Right. Then I will formally propose the paper and seek a seconder. Councillor McTaggart, thank you very much. Do members wish to debate the paper? Do not. Are we minded to approve? We are. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Item 12, and this is the external quality assessment of the internal audit function. This has been presented by your good self. Excellent.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report for the external quality assessment is to detail the findings from our recent EQA, which was undertaken by a Chief Internal Auditor from Argyll and Bute Council. One of the requirements of the public sector internal audit standards is that internal audit manager develops a quality assurance and improvement programme to enable the evaluation of the section's performance. This includes a self-assessment and a 5-yearly independent external assessment. So you could say it's the auditors are auditing the auditors. Detailed report is broken into 14 sections, which you can see in the report, where the Argyll and Bute auditor has stated that the team fully conforms with 12 sections and generally conforms with 2 sections. The report concludes that the team fully conforms with the standards overall. The conformance levels are detailed at section 2 of the report. It's a very positive outcome and can provide the Audit and Scrutiny Committee with an independent assurance on the work of the internal audit team. 10 recommendations were made in the report to improve and add additional supportive processes to promote standards. These are further detailed at Appendix D on pages 264 to 265 of the pack. Of the report details all the recommendations and agreed actions. As you can see from the action plan, there are 7 recommendations that are deemed to be routine and 3 that are significant. And to summarise the significant ones, the internal audit manager should have access to any reports relating to fraud. He should discuss the risks associated with the increase in limited assurance opinions within internal audit reports. And all audit recommendations are uploaded to the Pintana system to be added as a matter of priority. Pintana system being the performance management system being in use within Click Manager Council. I ask the committee to note the findings and action plan arising from our EQA, take assurance from the overall conclusion that Click Manager Council's internal audit section fully conforms with the standard, and we wish to record our thanks to the Chief Internal Auditor at Argyll and Bute Council for carrying out the assessment. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Do members have any questions? That's one, I think. It's, page 252. Lost it. Okay, 252. Right. 252's question was, oh yeah, this may have been answered elsewhere. Who has the responsibility for fraud at Crown Council?
I'll pass that over to some of your own officials.
It's myself and Lee in her role as legal and governance. So there are a number of processes in terms of including reporting and various other things that go on throughout the years. Things like, for example, the National Fraud Initiative and whatnot. So Lee is coming forward with a report on fraud at the next committee, which should address the issue that's been raised in this report, and thereafter that will be an annual report. So hopefully that will make sure that there's a systematic process on that thereafter. What I would say is that, you know, I think we have identified within the council that we are somewhat light on resources in terms of fraud, and just given the threat risk from fraud, and you know, particularly through cyber security, that is something that I've advised Chris and Lee that is probably something that we maybe just want to reflect on in terms of development of next year's budget.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, page 255 and 258. And the question is, do you wish to comment on the findings in any way? But I think we've probably covered that kind of thing, really.
I think the findings have actually been quite fair and reasonable. The significant areas are the ones to be tackled, which we already detailed. You're looking forward to putting a fraud paper forward. Pentana is getting underway just now. It was unfortunate timing at the time of doing the external audit that the person who manages Pentana had left the organisation, and there was a gap in between of who was uploading, and there was a backlog. So that is being dealt with. I'll find what the other one was. Discuss the risks associated. We've brought up on several occasions the risks associated with having a limited assurance overall. So these things are underway and are being tackled.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just to follow up on Sarah's points there. Yeah, in terms of Pentana, I think at the last count, I think it was bang up to date, everything was now in there. But of course that moves because we've got another report that's on the agenda today, so that will therefore have to be uploaded as soon as it's been through today. So I think for us it's, yes, we are up to date now. One part of the equation, we need to make sure that we continue to keep it up to date, and the other bit on that is around about the limited assurance and making sure that we're following through on actions. It's something that has actually come to the senior leadership group, and it's something that the Chief Executive is personally overseeing. So it is something, everything that's in there, as Sarah says, has been taken forward. We just need to make sure that we're keeping that momentum up.
Okay, thanks. Any more questions from members? No, right. Well, I'll formally propose the paper again. And can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Martha. Right, do members wish to debate? Well, I'm just commenting. I think you've come out of this very well, actually. Very good report. Well done. Excellent. I think that's all the debate there's going to be. So, are we minded to approve?
Yep.
We are. Thank you. Oh, yes, and we endorse your comments about Paul. Very good of him. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much. Item 13, the internal audit progress report. You're not getting away, are you?
No, not getting away, thank you, Chair. This paper provides an update on the progress of work on the 2023-24 audit plan. The audit plan contains 16 assignments with 11 audit reports to be completed, not including any work on the Integration Joint Board and the Valuation Joint Board. In summary, 5 reports have been completed to final stage, 2 reviews are in progress and 4 are yet to be started. This has all been detailed in Appendix 1 of the report. Since the last audit committee, 1 report has been finalised and issued and is detailed in Appendix 2, which was the Freedom of Information arrangements. I would like to draw your attention to paragraph 3.3, which highlights the delays in completing audits that are still being experienced, which is impacting on the completion of the programme of works. This year, as detailed in paragraph 3.6, as part of our continuous auditing, we received matches from the payroll department and suppliers. This was to indicate whether the council is buying goods or services from a supplier owned or a business run by a family member. Reviewing these matches should eliminate any instances of possible fraud, ensure disclosure of related party transactions, as per the Code of Practice for Local Authority Accounting, and reduce any error of duplication of payments. The matches have been forwarded to the appropriate departments for review, and any outcomes will be reported to upcoming audit committee. I welcome any questions you might have on the report.
Thank you. Any questions from members? Page 273, the appendix 2, 2 things on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6th paragraph down. However, there are no council-specific FOI policies in place. Is it planned to bring an FOI policy to council?
We've gone over recommendations, however, I can't comment on what officers are wishing to do. It's entirely up to them what they see as appropriate. There is policies in place that are Scottish Government policies, but nothing specific to Clackmannanshire Council.
Yeah, what I would say is, and I can't remember the management action plan in full, but we did accept the recommendations in full. I think from recollection there is a requirement to make sure that we've got roles very clearly specified, that we have got people understanding what they have to do as part of those roles, and we've got proper training and supervision in place for those. So whether that actually manifests in a policy as such, that may well be, because the guidance is pretty much set as statutory, we are required to comply. So whether a policy as such adds value to that necessarily, I don't know, but there is quite a bit of work that we need to do on things like procedures. I think there was something on job role profiles, etc. So there's quite a bit on the documentation. If we certainly accept all the recommendations, so I can't recall that one specifically, but if there was a requirement for a policy, then we'll bring that forward. Somewhat distant for the operations of this, but you know, we certainly accept all that, and we'll make sure that whether there's policy guidance, role profiles, etc., all that is updated, so that we're improving performance in this area as per the improvement actions on the internal audit.
So is it the case then, from what you said, that there's actually possibly no need for a policy? Is there a statutory guidelines there anyway? Is a policy just really echoing that?
That's a possibility, but I'm hesitating slightly because I can't remember whether we agreed to a policy specifically. But I would say that it's not uncommon when there is a statutory requirement for something also to have a specific policy approach within the council. So yeah, I guess at the end of the day, the policy could be relatively straightforward, that says that we will comply with the Scottish Government with the requirements, legislative requirements around freedom of information, and that we will, you know, take a different approach. That might be, for example, to ensure that we regularly update the committee on a different cycle or something. So the policy may bring in certain elements in terms of monitoring resources, etc. But fundamentally, it would have to follow the legislative requirements. We couldn't vary from that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And at the bottom of that page, the very last sentence about the inconsistencies, that's on page 273. Can you expand on that a little bit? What inconsistencies were?
We were given, as part of our testing, a list of all the FOI requests that were that were downloaded from the FOI system at the time, this being the old FOI system, because the system has changed just recently. I compared that to what was reported as one of the returns to the Scottish Information Commission, and they didn't match up number-wise. That's what the inconsistencies are. Now, it could have been a timing issue. I'm not to say that, because I can only go with the information that I've been presented. So that's really, it's not inconsistencies on quality, it's sheer numbers that have been reported.
So in your opinion, it was non-malicious, it was just accidental?
It could have been accidental, but I have no way of confirming that.
One of the recommendations that I do recall very specifically was that we have undertaken on recommendation of the internal auditor that we look into that, and then we dig further in to understand what the discrepancy is about, and to make sure that we're getting consistency going forward. So that actually is a concrete action that's within the agreed management action plan.
Any further questions? Nope. Okay, once again, I will formally propose the paper and seek a seconder. It's for your turn this time.
Your turn, is it my turn? Sorry.
Councillor McTaggart. Thank you. Do members wish to debate the paper? I think not. And do members approve the paper? Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. We're on to item 14, our final item today.
Thank you very much, Chair. This is a familiar report that we more or less bring forward to every committee to outline any exceptions to contract standing orders that have been agreed since the last committee. So there are two within this report that I have signed, and I'd be happy to take any questions. And Derek's also online if there's any really tricky questions.
Do members have any questions? If not,
Have to work anyway.
all right. I will formally propose the paper and seconder, Councillor Benny, thank you very much. Do members wish to debate? No? All right. Well, let me just say thank you, Stuart, for your report, which I think is the last one we'll hear from you in this forum anyway, which is a shame, but on to a new video.
That's the last one, isn't it?
Yes. Thank you for your support for the committee. I really appreciate it. Right. I think we're done. The meeting is closed. 12:10.
Thank you.